Hey, clean shaven. What's up? It's the Culture Detective here investigating your favorite TV shows, and today I'm going to be doing a TV review of Miss Marvel. So yeah, from here on out, every single time I transition to another age, say I turn 21, I turn 22, I'm gonna change something. Okay, I'm gonna shave it all, or I'm gonna change my hairstyle. I'm gonna shave all my eyebrows, get piercings, face tats, whatever. I'll just do something to my face and change my look. But anyways, today I'm going to be doing a TV review of Miss Marvel, which is another freaking Marvel TV show. At this rate, in every single month we get a new Marvel release, whether it be a new movie or a new TV show. And Miss Marvel actually came out like a couple months ago, like in July or I think in August, and I wasn't really caught up to it because I didn't really have the time. But I finally finished watching it about an hour ago, and let's talk about it. Miss Marvel is sort of a standalone story about this girl whose name is Kamala Khan, and she is a Pakistani American girl, and she's a teenager. And one day she finds a bangle, which is this golden wristband. She wears it, and she has powers. And her powers is basically she can shoot bluish purple crystals out of her hands, and her hands can grow big. That's her powers. So yeah, obviously going into Miss Marvel, I didn't really expect much. I honestly thought about dropping this show because the first half of Miss Marvel is really boring in my opinion. There are 6 episodes here, and episodes 1 to 3 are very boring. I don't find myself interested at the story at all. There's nothing engaging about Miss Marvel. There aren't any antagonists in the story. I mean, there's the police, the anti superhero police, the damage control people, but they don't feel like antagonists, they just feel like a nuisance. There are no antagonists. It's just Kamala and her friends screwing around and having fun or whatever. That's basically the story. And the powers are not that interesting as well. Again, shooting crystals out of your hand and enlarging your hands and feet. It's not very interesting. So I wasn't really interested when I watched these anyways. I guess I could say that at least the editing and the cinematography is a little bit more fun in Miss Marvel, because Miss Marvel has this really energetic kids teenager comic book vibe to it, with the crazy fun edits and all that stuff. And yeah, and that's partially because the show tells its story through Kamala's perspective, and since Kamala's a teenager, you also get all these very crazy, zany edits. But at the end of the day, I feel like I've seen tons of movies that do this style better, so I'm not huge on this. And let's talk about the music for a little bit, because I think the music is not very great. I like that they're trying to combine Hindustani music with more, mainstream Marvel type score. In concept, it's great. But for some reason, I think the composer of Miss Marvel really likes electronic music and really likes hip hop, so they basically slammed Hindustani music with hip hop beats, and it just comes off very awkward. Anyways, the story finally starts to get interesting on episode 4, where Kamala and her mom went to Karachi, Pakistan. And yeah, while the story isn't really all that interesting, I guess one element that I like seeing is how Marvel is acknowledging that, ooh, this Pakistani culture that we showed in the first 3 episodes, it's actually really whitewashed. Here is a Pakistani American in Pakistan feeling out of place and feeling confused all the time. And I like that Marvel acknowledged that, because whenever Marvel shows Chinese culture in Shang-Chi, it feels very whitewashed and inaccurate and ingenuine, and it sort of takes my enjoyment out of the experience. So I'm glad Marvel is acknowledging this shit. And yeah, aside from that, I guess we get more, story. So episode 4 is called Seeing Red because Kamala runs into a couple of people who belong to the Red Daggers, so Seeing Red. Then we have episode 5, which I think is the most interesting episode here. We have a flashback to 1942 to British occupied India. And for some reason, the show really escalated with the politics and the history and started to really deal with British occupied India and the partition, the separation between India and Pakistan. Tons of people in British occupied India trying to cross the border before the border actually completes, and all the history and politics behind it. And again, I really applaud Marvel for not only showing diversity by putting characters of different ethnicity together, but also showing the politics and history behind these cultures. I applaud Marvel for doing that, but I think it's not a very deep or profound attempt at showing that. But then again, I can't really blame Marvel because after all, Marvel is Marvel. It's just a Hollywood thing. It's not meant to be deep or profound or anything like that. But then we have the flashbacks, and then we have the minor spoiler alert. We have the time travel element, which I think is really freaking interesting. And I genuinely thought we would see more of that in the last episode. We didn't. But that's really interesting. And then we went back to present day, and the CGI is awful. It's awful. So again, we have the jinns, we have an alternate dimension, and apparently you can open the door to another alternate dimension, a veil, sort of like a gate to the upside down. And the CGI in that scene is actually awful because you get these people being evaporated and they turn into skeletons. And the skeletons, they look really bad. But anyways, we have the final episode, episode 6, and it's mediocre. It's not very great. This time we go back to the USA. All the characters, they all come together to fight the damage control people, the anti-superhuman cops. And it's not very interesting because again, these damage control people, they feel more like a nuisance than they do antagonists. Second of all, the show attempts to show police brutality or something like that, and it's a very shallow and weak attempt at showing that, in my opinion, because the police are not portrayed really well. They are portrayed as this dumb, powerless bunch of idiots. And then we have the character of Kamran, who becomes a bit of a mini antagonist at the end, which came out of nowhere. It feels really forced. And again, because of that, there really isn't a real antagonist, so the story feels weak. And again, I'm all for a story where there are no antagonists, where everybody are good guys, and there's just a sort of a conflict between the good guys. But Ms. Marvel's writing is nowhere near as profound as that. It just doesn't have the chops. And at the end of the day, the lore of Ms. Marvel is still an absolute mess. The clandestines, the jinns, the alternate dimension. We still have no answers to any of those questions. And at the end, Kamala punched a hole through the earth. Or she did something like that. I wasn't so sure what she did. It was sort of confusing. If she did that, then it just feels completely out of the blue. I mean, yeah, shooting crystals and expanding arms and legs, that's pretty cool. But then punching a hole through the earth? What? Or maybe she didn't do that. Then what else did she do? What did she do in that scene? I don't know. But yeah, overall, it's a really weak TV show. It's not as bad as it looks, but it's still really weak. I'm giving Ms. Marvel a strong 5 to a light 6. So, have you watched Ms. Marvel from 1 to 10? Did you rate it, like, and subscribe if you want more? And thanks for watching.